Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to today's session. Today we're going to talk about running a business while you're working for someone else. Now, I know that that's probably a little bit different to what it looked like on the schedule, but that's okay, plans change. So let's dive straight into it. And if I can get this thing to work. There we go. So, g'day and welcome. Today we're going to talk about design options and operating a full-time, operating a small business while being employed full-time. My name is Beth, and I'm going to be talking through this with you guys today. So let's get started. Now, I've got lots of pictures here because that's what I like to look at, and I don't want to bore you too much. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a little bit about my story, who I am, what it is that I do, and why I'm actually here talking with you today. Some of the lessons that I've learned that I probably actually want to share, they're really basic things, but I kind of hope that they help you, because sometimes I find just the daily little tricks that you learn along the way can make a big difference in running your own business and when you're busy with kids or another job or anything like that. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time on that. And yes, the big one, working two jobs, it's that awkward season, like that in between of you know where you're headed, you know what you want to do, but you just can't, you're not there full time yet. It's not going to sustain and bring in all the money that you need to just yet. It can feel like a bit of a struggle, believe me, I know. So it's okay, you got this. So who am I? My name is Elizabeth, but most people call me Beth. I actually introduce myself as Beth, it just makes it a whole lot easier. I'm the director of a small graphic design business called Beth by Design, and I've actually lived in Kununurra since 2019. So not that long, but I do absolutely love it here. I'm originally from Queensland, and in 2019 when I came across, I packed up my ute, as you can see in the picture here. I put my dog in the back, brought a laptop, my camera, and just whatever else I could fit in there, and I hit the road. And whenever anyone asks me why I moved to Kununurra or what brought me here, I say a photograph. Now, I love photography, I love taking pictures, and all it took was seeing one photo of the scenery up here, of the mountain ranges, and I fell in love. It was just such a beautiful place. I knew that I had to come and either visit or live here for a bit. And I'm here. I planned on being here for 1 year, been 4 now, so who knows? I actually grew up on a 43,000 acre sheep and cattle station in outback Queensland. It was called Tyrone. The picture there is just me in the work ute at the front at the mailbox. And we lived there since 1992, and we sold it in 2018. And that was a very sad time for me, but seasons change and sometimes things just have to move on. But to be honest, it was one of the best childhoods that I could ever have asked for. And some of the lessons that I learned growing up there is actually things that I have applied to running my own business on a daily schedule, I suppose you could say. Hard work, independence, like thinking things through and working out how things are going to work, just basic life skills. And that's, I suppose, why I'm mentioning it, because I've noticed that there are quite a lot of similarities in between the way that I was brought up working on a station and running my own business. Now, I have actually always enjoyed taking photos and creating home videos. My sister and I were always having fun with this. Our younger brother, who was quite the go-getter, would often be the star in our little videos or photos. But it wasn't actually until I was in my 20s that I moved to Gympie, another smallish town in Queensland. And I was there for 5 years working at a private school as a personal assistant to the principal. And you kind of think, well, how did that, like a PA kind of position? That's not into videos, that's not into graphic design or photography or any of those things. So you could say it was a little bit random, but it was actually from this job that I got to explore these skills more. I saw that there was a need in the school to actually have someone on site with a decent quality camera to just be able to run out and take photos of classes or sports activities. And just this photo here of the equestrian club that they had there, rather than having to constantly book a professional photographer to come in all the time or just get zero good photos. Phones weren't what they are now, back then. So you'd get phone pictures sent through to you for, you know, sending out to everyone, and they didn't look good. And that just kind of annoyed me a little bit. So it kind of went beyond my capacity in my role that I was there, but it was something I saw. So I actually went out and personally bought myself my very first DLS camera. Cost me like $700, which was a lot of money for me back then. And I became the self-appointed school photographer for that. And as you can see, that was one of my photos there of the equestrian, and I loved it. I loved getting out there. It got me away from the desk and out into the school, see what was going on. And yeah, things just kind of developed from there. I had studied and was studying marketing and business while I was working at the school. And it wasn't long before I was attending marketing meetings with someone that they employed and consulted with, and a graphic designer. And somehow, I still don't even know how, I ended up with the design jobs. I'd never done it before, just from sitting in with these meetings. I don't know if the lady just didn't want to do it anymore, or if she saw something in me that she's like, no, Beth can do that. So I ended up designing the newsletters, doing the yearly yearbooks, billboard designs, marketing campaigns, designing the front cover to student diaries, all this stuff that I had never done before in my life. But I actually really enjoyed it. So again, I took some initiative and I enrolled in a TAFE course to study graphic design. Like, I enjoy this, I'm using it in my job, let's see where this goes. And I always kind of laugh because a lot of people just kind of know what it is that they want to do. They're really good at it as a kid or during school, interests develop. I just say I fell into it. It just kind of landed in my lap and went, I like this. This is pretty good. So that's how my journey into what I do now started. So a little bit about me. In 2016, so after that job, after I started learning more about graphic design, I actually moved back to the family cattle station for a few years to caretake. No one had been living there for about a year. They needed someone there to, you know, do all the chores, so to speak, rather than going into a list of different things that I had to do. And I actually continued my studies while I was there. So it was a great time. I loved being back on the land. I'm sure a lot of you would understand that when you're in an office all the time and you don't see too much sun, or, you know, you're indoors, but you're an outdoor person like myself, I actually found it really hard for 5 years not being out on the land. So it was really refreshing to go back home, and it was just what I needed. But it was also a really tough time for me personally. We had just lost someone close to us in our family. And while I was there, you know, the guy that I was going to marry, stuff happened. So it was actually really, really hard personally within myself. And yet it's actually, looking back, one of the best pivotal points in my life. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that. But who knows that from pain, new dreams can come, you know? So yeah, designed with purpose. It's the tagline for my business, and it's all kind of stems from this time in my life. So when I was out there, I really started to dream about being able to own my own business, to have the freedom to be able to travel where I needed to travel to be for my family where I needed to be, At this point, I was going to visit my cousin's wife and their kids and spend time with them because they just, lost their dad. And I had the freedom and the ability to go and do that. I was there for my family when they needed me. So that's what has birthed, I suppose, this journey in my life. I wanted to be financially independent and I wanted to be able to help people. And purpose, as you can see, is a big thing in everything that I do. Now, who knows that the journey that we take isn't always smooth. It's can get a little rocky, you get a few bumps along the road, but everyone needs a starting point. That was mine back then in 2016, 2017. And that's why you guys are here. That's why you're doing these webinars. That's why you're learning all the things that you need to learn to be able to start and, get into this business that you're just craving to do or have a dream about or see that you can serve people in a unique way. Now, you won't always get it right, but it doesn't mean that you give up. I think that's the biggest thing. You just might have to reevaluate sometimes or, go back and go, that didn't work. But you try and try again. So this is my examples. When I was studying graphic design in 2016, as part of the course, I had to create a logo and a website and submit it to pass, kind of a thing. So that's 2016. With my little cowgirl hat on top, giving myself a little bit of personality, putting myself into it. And then in 2021, when I came back to it, I was working as a freelancer again and wanted to get into creative business development. And I actually took away a lot of the personality of it from myself and just tried to be a little bit more generic for everyone. And that didn't last very long because who knows, we're all a bit quirky and we're all a little bit different. And that's actually what makes you different to, or why people will come to your business and buy from you or choose your services. It's you, it's who you are, it's how you do business. And so, yeah, my logo at the bottom is what I use now and what you'll find on my website. So you don't always get it right, but every step along the way is learning. It is a journey. So what is it that I do? Well, I create strategic brand, print, and digital designs so that other businesses can realize their purpose and reach their audiences with, things that look good and, get you out there, really. So I help businesses with website designs, branding, which is your logos and colors and all those sorts of things, graphic design in a print or online version, so magazines, brochures. I do photography, portraits, and I do a little bit of product photography as well. The example there might look like a portrait, the girl, but it's actually the earrings that for a website, this lady makes them. And videography, which is something that I really quite enjoy as well. And I'll show you some examples of that as well. So I kind of just wanted to give you some examples of some of the work that I do. Over the last couple of years, I've had so many incredible opportunities to work with people in the Kimberley here. So I worked with Gyro Girl on her lookbook quite a few years ago. That was such a great project to be able to work on, just designing it and putting it together so that she had a digital version. And I'll go into that later. Of course, you would know about the business, Shiro's Business magazine, Uncle Reggie's chili relish labels. Anyway, I'll show you rather than just listing them. So I have kind of thrown in a few photos in here because this is what I love. When you have, when you're doing your business, you have the things that sell, but there's also a part of it that you actually really like to do as well. For me, it's getting out into the bush, taking photos. And so this is one of my favorites from a little while ago, just down at the Billabong, all the birds. It was a perfect day. So the lookbook, putting this together in a design was such a great project. The photos another local photographer did, and these outfits are just incredible. So this was such a fun design to work together. So my part in this was just getting the photos, getting the information, and then putting it into a magazine type book that could be handed out, but also put up on the website for people to just be able to flick through and see all the amazing artwork and the clothes and prices and what options there were. That was a good time. Photo shoots, I've already talked a little bit about that one. So this one was for some earrings. This lady makes and creates these just heaps of different earrings, which is super fun because she's actually a Queensland-based client, but she's really wanted me to do some product photography. So she posted them up here into the Kimberley for me, and we went out bush and just went crazy taking photos. It was a really fun day. And of course, the Kimberley Jiggers, Shiro's and Business Magazine. If you guys haven't had a chance to have a look at this, I really encourage you to. Not because I designed it, but because the resources in here are really top notch. I really enjoyed reading through everything as I put it together. So working on this with Natasha, same thing, all the content was sent to me. The photos are by different people, articles are written by different people, but just putting it together in a cohesive way so that when you actually flick through it, you don't get lost. So this was my design, and it's probably actually one of my favorite projects in the last 3 or 4 years, but don't tell Natasha that. So this is just some examples of the inside pages, and these are actually pictures not of a physical book, but a mock-up, and I want to talk to you a little bit about those later on as well, because they are some great ideas of ways that if you haven't actually got a physical product yet, but you're in the way of making it, there are ways that you can present it to your customers and get people interested. Again, my beautiful landscape photos. This one's out at Diggers Rest, looking up at the Coburn Range. And I would actually get this printed massive on my wall. Personally, I love this photo. Yes, and on to some videography. I again had the chance to work with Natasha and putting together a promo for the company, and it was really good fun. I got the drone out and took some videos of the car driving down some roads, and I took her to a place that she hadn't been to in ages. She's like, "Oh, that's right, there's this really great road down here." So we had some fun with that. If you haven't had a chance to check this video out, head on over to Kimberley Jiggers YouTube and have a little bit of a watch. We also did one for Magma Makers, and this is another project that was so much fun. Again, yeah, jump onto that page, watch the video, and get inspired by all the work that these lovely ladies do. Some photo portraits. Again, I suppose this is just the side of my business that I really like to be able to do. Now, down to some practical things. So you might look at some of these photos and some of the things that I do and go, oh my goodness, like you must have so much stuff and it's super expensive. I could never even do a little bit like that. If you're starting out and you want to take some good photos, going back to where I started at the school, I bought a camera for $700, and that was, I'm even embarrassed to say it, like 10 years ago or more. You can get good quality things now to start out that isn't going to cost a lot. So the equipment that I use, I have a camera. It's a Nikon D7-200. You probably don't know what that means. That's totally fine. and I have 3 different lens options that go on there. So this is the one that I use is kind of mid-range, but still not even that middle expensive. It's not super expensive, and yet I'm able to get good quality photos. There are certain things that I can't do very well with it because it does have limitations, but that's like night photography, which I would love to do, but haven't needed it for my business yet. GoPro. Now, I don't know if you've kind of caught on to this yet, but I'm a bit of an outdoors person. So every time I go for a hike, whenever I get out and go exploring, I have my GoPro with me. Now, you can buy a GoPro for under $1,000. So I think you can get them on special for like 500. They are very versatile for video. So if you just wanted something that gets out there, I take it. Swimming, I get some great underwater footage with it. It's not super, super expensive, but you can actually do a lot with it. I do have a drone. It is still mid-range one. It's not the smallest one. It's not the biggest one. It's like that in between. And I just have fun with it. And I have been able to capture some beautiful footage, not because of my drone flying skills, but because the country is so incredible. Again, like I said, it doesn't always have to be super hard. When you're starting out a business, you start with what you can do. And even if it's not where you want to be just yet, like I have a list of lenses that I'd like to buy, or, you know, extra things for the drone, or to buy the bigger one that's more sturdy, or that can do this and do that. But I'm not there yet. So I do what I can with what I have. And I think that's a big key. Start out where you are and work your way up. I use Adobe Suite for editing photos. So that's with Photoshop and Lightroom. In that package, there's InDesign and Illustrator. So it's probably a little bit more of the upper range side of things. But if you have the ability to use that, you know, it's a great product. And then I kind of do my editing with Wondershare Filmer. It does cost a subscription, but it's just super easy to use. So that's just another idea. But some helpful programs that I can recommend that you kind of check out just for in general is, number one is probably Canva. I'm sure by now you've heard the name. It's an easy to use online design program that does have a free version. That if you're looking for things for social media or business cards, different things like that, they've got templates that you can use, and it is a great starting point, especially if you're looking for something free. There is the free version. It has limitations on it, but it is a great way to start. There's other ones here that they do cost things, but it really does depend what your business is to what you actually need. If you do a search for Envato elements, even if you don't buy a subscription or do anything like that, they've got some really good examples there of what you can do. I mentioned mock-ups before, and they do have templates that you can download. You know, say for photos, when you've got a canvas on the wall, you may not actually have a canvas on the wall that you can take a picture of yet to say this is what that would look like up on a wall. But you can get a mock-up, and so it's a picture of a wall with a blank canvas that you can actually input your stuff into. So there's so much that you can do out there, and there's people like myself and other graphic designers and people in this community that you've joined that can help out with those sorts of things and give you little tips and tricks, and just making sure that you're presenting the quality of products that you have. Google Workspace is great for emails and online storage. You can create documents in there if you're just wanting to type stuff up. It's got a calendar for booking in your day, your schedule, appointments, meetings that you have to get to. Really helpful being organized like that. And you can actually do video calls on there too, which is really helpful. WeTransfer is an online program that I actually do recommend that everyone kind of jot down, because at some point you may need to get files that are quite big to, say, a graphic designer or someone who you're doing work with. And when you email it, it actually compresses the size of things. So say if you hired a graphic designer and you had a photo that you really wanted to send them, you sent it an email and it actually compresses it and the quality of the photo isn't there. Whereas if you use something like WeTransfer, you can transfer things up to a certain size for free, but it actually keeps the quality of that photo. So just little things like that that can be very helpful. If you're looking for music to put to a video, I know Natasha was talking about this the other day. She hadn't had to go through and deal with royalty free music before we did the promo video. It's not as simple as just jumping on, iTunes or YouTube and going, oh, I like that sound, that song, let's use that, because there's copyright on it. So there's programs out there that actually have music that say, here, you can use it. Some of it's free, some of it you do have to pay like a license for, but you can do it and apply and not get in trouble, pretty much. You don't have YouTube telling you to take your video down because you don't have permission to use that song. So if you're ever looking for something, just Google royalty-free music, and then you can explore in there via the search buttons, or a style of music, something that's upbeat, or maybe you want something that's country, and you can actually just look for that in there. So just little things that hopefully one day they might become helpful for you. So just 3 things really of lessons that I've learned over the years of running my own business. Pretty much. The biggest one that I kind of had to really think about, and there's so much that I could kind of fit under here, but preparation is key. There's lots of, inspirational quotes about preparing. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail, sort of thing, and different ones like that. And they can kind of just go, we know that. But it is really important. So actually setting out a schedule of things that you need to do. If you have a project that you're working on, set time for it, because otherwise your day goes, your week goes, and you haven't got what you wanted to get done. So for me, I plan my work days and I have office hours, the same as if I was going to someone else's office from 8 till 5. Now, the good thing about when you're running your own business is that you can actually be flexible with those for things that you have coming up in your week. Say it's Friday and your kids are in primary school, and they've got, what do they call it, assembly on. So you want to make sure you schedule that time out. I'm going to be out. I'm not going to be working during that time because I'm going to go watch my kids, But it's preparing so you know that you're not going to be available on that day at that time. And some of you might laugh at this, but I found really helpful. And this is personally that if I make my lunch the night before, so like last night, I made something for myself today because I knew I was going to have a busy day. One, I don't go the whole day without not eating because I have something prepared for lunch. I don't spend my lunch hour trying to find something to eat. It's a time saver, and it actually makes sure that I keep on schedule. I've got something healthy to eat. Little things like that I've actually found makes a huge difference in a work day. And in preparing, it's good to write your goals down. Sometimes we're kind of like, we know where we want to be, we know where we want to go, but actually just writing them down and then breaking it down into a daily or weekly schedule. It's like, all right, I know that I want to be here, but what does that look like for today? Does that mean that I get this artwork done today, or this artwork done this week? And it gives that satisfaction that you can tick it off and go, I achieved that. And amongst everything else that life has going on, I got that done. You know, it's, for me, it's very helpful. I hope you find it helpful too. Another lesson that I've learned is that if you don't know something, it's okay to ask. It doesn't make you look like you're unprofessional. There's lots of areas that you're going to come across on this journey that you haven't had to deal with before. I know that that's been true for me. Running and like the books, the accounting side of things from not a personal perspective, but a business perspective is something that I was completely unfamiliar with. You know, I didn't know. So I had to ask, I had to learn, I had to work out, how do I do this? How is this going to work for me? And there are so many different resources out there that you can get your hands on for free. There's people that you can ask. There's courses that you can sign up for. Some cost something, you know. It's all about learning. Every day we learn something new. The third one, and it might seem just so obvious, but to do money well, businesses that do money well. No one likes to talk about money, but it is actually true. Accounting, like I said, it's not my favorite thing. It's not what I'm good at. But you kind of have to learn these things when you started out a business, because you may not be at a point where you can actually employ someone to do it for you like bigger businesses do. So you're going to need to know some stuff. That magazine, The Shearer's Business, there are some great tips in there on how to set up your finances and who to talk to and what you need to look at doing. It doesn't have to be this big thing. It's like, I don't know how to do this. It's all right. We all were in that point at, you know, in one area or another at some point. So again, ask and prepare. Those are probably the three top things that I've had to learn in the way that I do my business. So I hope they kind of will help you. Now, coming towards wrapping things up a little bit, working 2 jobs, because that's what it feels like. I know for myself, at the moment, I work for a tour company in town, and it's from 8 till 5, 5 days a week. And then I've got my own business, which I run, and I talk to clients and I get jobs coming in. And sometimes it feels like all you ever do is work. So it's an interesting topic. Just going to touch on a couple of small things here today, though. Now, I haven't actually been doing business full time the entire time, lots of time. I started in 2016, but through the years of 2018 through to 2021, I was still doing odd jobs, you know, but I was more employed by someone else, even though I still had my business sitting there. I just wasn't working on it the way that I should have been. So this year, like I said, I'm back working with another company. I've just done 2 years of being full-time working for myself. And, you know, there is always going to be struggles doing both. I loved being able to work full-time in my own business. And, you know, in myself, I actually really had to struggle with this at the beginning of this year in making the decision to work for someone else again, as well as doing my own business. And it can be easy to kind of feel like you've failed and then just give up. That's it. I can't do this. It's too much. It's too hard. Hence the picture of me in the water during a hike, 3-day hike, just blinking hot. And I just lay down the river and was just like, oh my goodness, I just need to rest. But I couldn't stay there. We still had a long way to walk on this hike in this example. The journey of running your own business, you have to start somewhere. And along the way, things can get tricky. You encounter issues that you may not have, even thought of. That's okay. It's when you take a dip in the water and just refresh and come out and try again. So I always look at it as we need to celebrate your growth. Now, where I was when I started in 2016, just studying graphic design, I've just finished, learning about business and marketing and all those sorts of things, to where I am today, it's completely different. And I always choose to celebrate in that I have grown, my services have become better, I have improved my skills. The photos that I used to take back then and what I can take now, completely different. And I see that as progress, and I will celebrate that, I'm not actually just doing things the same old way. You grow, you learn. Now, like I said before, it can be hard to give 100% to both jobs. If you're looking at doing both, you're working for some other company at the moment, but you've got this dream to start your own business and you've got to start somewhere, but it's not like you can go out and just quit your job when you haven't actually established your business yet. And yet at the same time, you don't want to become a bad employee for the person that you're working with. And you don't want to stop working on your own business and that dream that you have. So when I'm working for someone else, an employer, I give that job and their business all of my attention. And sometimes it can be easier said than done. Like today, I knew that during my lunch break, I would be here talking to you and trying not to think about what I was going to say. And have I prepared everything? Did I finish that slideshow in time? Is everything going to work? You have these thoughts in your head, but you're meant to be focusing on the job at hand. Easier said than done. But when you make that decision that you will give your best at whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's in your business or someone else's, that's what you got to do. So when I come back or on my days off and I work on my business, I schedule my business time. I book it into my weekly schedule and I sit down and then I give my business the same respect of 100% focus on building what's next. What can I do better? What am I going to improve on next? What do I need to fix to make this work for me full time? Now, when you're going from one thing to another, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to overthink things and the brain just goes, maybe that's just me. I have found the best way to go from one thing to the next is to clear your head before you start on the next project. For me, I do that by going for a walk. This picture here is of me and my dog on the top of Elephant Rock, just outside of Kununurra. Of an afternoon, that is how I clear my head. That is how I go from everything that's just happened and all the work that I've just done before I start the next thing. Really simple. For you, it could be something completely different. It's completely different when you have a family and you have kids running around. I don't have that in this season of my life, but it's something that you have to take into account as well. But just don't let it overwhelm you. You can do it. The next thing I wanted to kind of talk about in that space of working two jobs is communication. Now, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Like, do you tell your employer that you're working on your own little business on the side or what it is that you're doing? But I found that you do need to communicate with them at some point in some way. And I don't know your situation. And I'm not saying that you need to go and, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. But I have found that there are certain times when my business schedule and the job that I work for with someone else, my employer, can conflict. Today being a good example. Yes, I did take this through and I'm doing this in my lunch hour, but there's a little bit of time there that I'm going to have to make up. So as soon as I knew that this was going to be a problem, I went to them and I said, listen, I just need a little bit of extra time on my lunch hour. Is that okay? This is what I'm going to do. It's up to you whether or not you say, what it is that you're going to be doing. That's at your discretion. But actually communicating with them and not just not showing up for work or just taking an extra long break because you didn't get what you needed to get done. Coming back to prepare. I knew what was coming up and I asked them, and it's just simple things like that they will actually, I have always found in my experience anyway, that they respect that and appreciate your telling them. Sometimes they'll ask you to make it up in another day or do something extra. And for me, that's okay, because I want to be the kind of reliable employee to them that I would like to employ one day. I kind of evaluate myself and go, would I employ me? Would I pay me to do this job? Because that's what running your own small business is about. And if you can't do that for someone else, so that's what I wanted to talk about in working two jobs. I hope that's helpful. Now, if I can do it, so can you. I'm nothing special. I don't have these, just an ordinary everyday person. I say I'm a simple country girl, came off a station, because sometimes I think we can look at people and their success and where they are now and go, oh, I could never do that. But they, like you, like me, had to start somewhere. So I just want to finish up with these couple of thoughts, is that it's important to find a community, a group of people like the one that you're in now with the Kimberley Gigars and these training, is that there's a group of people who have similar goals that you can learn from, that you can go to, that you can talk to, you can ask questions, and they support you. Understanding your purpose. Now, other people might, it's the same thing as saying, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you taking this journey? And it's important to kind of keep that vision in front of you, especially on those hard days, or if you feel like you're juggling a lot, like, why am I doing this again? That's right. It's okay. I can keep going. I can do this. And then give it a go. If you're at the start of your journey, even if it's a small start, just taking those baby steps, doing the webinars, doing the courses, focusing on one product and getting that out there. Learn what you can, prepare to succeed, and then, like all of us, you have to learn what works and what doesn't. And there's always going to be those learning curves. So that's it for me today. If you want to contact me, you can follow me on social media. I've got my email address there, my phone number, website. Feel free to reach out and just have a chat. Obviously, there's no chat here today in this webinar. So if you do have any questions, just shoot them through. I'm always happy to, have a yarn. So thanks for watching, and I wish you all the best in your business journey. I know that it's going to be great, and I look forward to seeing what's coming next. All right, thanks. Bye, everyone.